Hello everyone, this is a tutorial for the Bio 105 Lab Exercise 6. This is going to show you how to take the data from the prelab and turn it into a histogram. Alright, so a histogram is similar to, say, a bar graph, but you're looking at the number of individuals in a category rather than an overall number. And I think you'll see that as we go along and make the actual histogram. So what you need to do first is open up Exercise 6 Prelab in Word and have a blank Excel file open and ready to go as well. So once you have those open, we're going to start with the Prelab Word document. We're going to go in here and we're going to go to Table 1. We can click on the little crosshairs there and it will highlight the entire table. We can then go into the highlighted area and either right click or control click and it will give us these options. Okay, we're going to select copy. The other thing you can do is you can also hit Control C or Command C and that will copy that data as well. Now we're going to open up our Excel file. We're going to go ahead and just click somewhere on there. And we've got two options. We can either right click again and paste that data into the sheet. I'm going to get rid of this. Or we can also, again, we can hit, say, Control V or Command V if you're using a Mac. So what we have here is our two tables. All this data is arranged in rows. So what we want to do is we want to compare the two sets of data. So we want to compare the 1871 data, and we want to also compare the we're going to compare that to the 1982 and 1984 data. Now what we want to do is turn this from a horizontal setup to a vertical setup, and there's two different ways you can do that. You can either go ahead and copy, so we're going to highlight by clicking on and then dragging a column. Then we can again either right click and do copy or do Control C, and then we can then paste that like we did before, right click and then paste, or right click or Control and V, and that will transfer that column. Now there's an easier trick you can also do, in that you can highlight the horizontal data. So highlight one of those rows, and again we're going to copy it, and then when we come down here we're going to right click or command click, and we're going to go up to where it says paste options. We're going to go over to the fourth one where it says transpose. And what that's going to do is it's going to flip our data 90 degrees, and now it has put it into a column. All right, and through the magic of editing, we didn't make you watch me do all of those, but we can go ahead and show you one more time. You highlight it, copy it, go to where you're going to put it, and then we use paste and transpose. Okay, so that gives us our two columns of data. So we want to know a couple of things about these columns of data. One of them that is always useful is the average. So here's a useful tool is to be able to do formulas. And anytime you want to do a formula in Excel, you click on an empty cell, we hit the equal sign. Okay, now up here what you'll get is there'll be a bunch of different formulas. The one we're interested in is average. Okay, so that will give us the mean of our data. Now what it does is it will try to figure out what you want to do and insert a formula here. Okay, so what it's doing is it's saying, do you want to go from B11 down to B51 and do the average of those? In this case we don't, because B11 is actually our year, and that'll mess things up. So we're going to go to in here and just go B12. You can also go in here, and if you highlight this and then highlight your data, it also does the same thing. So we should be able to hit OK. And that now is our mean, right, or our average. And we can just also copy that over. And the easiest way to do that is to go to the bottom corner until you get this little cross, and you slide over holding down the mouse key, and that will give you your average. All right, so we can see our average for our 1871 values and the average for our 1980s values, right? 82 to 84. Okay, so that gives us what I should have said is our mean for each of our columns. Now what we want to do is we want to make a histogram of our columns. So we want to take the 1871 data first, and we're going to go ahead and highlight that. So I click and drag down that column to highlight it. And then we're going to go up here to Insert. And then over here it says Charts. There's a bunch of different ones, but we want this one in the middle that is a statistical chart, and we're going to go for a histogram. All right. So that gives us a histogram. The way that this is set up is it gives you a range. This is telling you the number of individuals in this column that are between 0 and 2.9 millimeters for their thickness. Okay. We can make this look a little better by doing a few things. We can get rid of the grid lines. We can also come in here and we can change our chart title. So all of these are also available up here, all these different options for changing up your histogram. So we're going to say that this is the 1871 shell thickness. And one of the other things we can do is we can go in and label the axes. So if we click on this again, we can add axis titles. So the way we go ahead and add those axis titles is we can go up here to Chart Elements. It will also, if you click on Design for your graph, it will also be up here, and you can add your axis titles there. So if we click on axis titles, that gives us axis titles. So this axis would be the number of individuals in range, and then this would be the shell thickness in millimeters, right? Always use your units whenever possible. So what we want to do, so what happens is with Excel is that it will just assign values, right? What it thinks it should be. We want to standardize this a little bit because we're going to be comparing this to our 1982 data as well. So what we want to do is we want to click on the histogram itself. We want to right click, and then it should give us Format Plot Area. And then under Plot Area Options, you've got Horizontal Category. And we click on this little set of bars, and it gives you the axis options. And what they're doing right now is the axis is being set automatically. What we want to do is click on bin width. So what the bin is just how long this distance is between the two. So we want our bin width, instead of being 2.9, this sort of random number, we're just going to go ahead and make that 3. Right? And if you just hit enter, it now has it going to the nearest whole number instead of to the points. Now that'll be important when we come over here and do our next histogram. So we're going to run through that one more time on how to make that. So we highlight our data. You go up to Insert, and then the Insert Statistical Chart. And we're going to go ahead and hit Histogram. All right. So once again, we are going to have to change a few things. So if you ever need to move it, you get the crosshairs like that, and then you can drag it wherever you want it on your Excel file. So again, what we can do is we can go and we can get rid of the grid lines. We can add our axis titles. All right, and they're going to be the same as the ones we used up here. Let's see, I bet you we can just copy and paste those. Yeah, that didn't work. Okay. All right, so we've got our axes are the same. And now we can do our chart title. So this is the 1982 to 84. Once we've got all that set up, remember we're going to go and right-click or control-click and format plot area. That brings up this, and we're going to go to our horizontal category and to axis options. If we open up axis options, we're going to change that bin width, and we're going to go ahead and change that to 3. Close this. And what you can see, if we can try to get everything on the same screen, is we have our 1871 and our 1982 and 1984 shell thicknesses. They are, so each of these bars now represents the same size range, about 3 millimeters difference in size range. And the big thing that jumps out when you look at this is that our 1871, we've got a larger range of shell sizes than we do in the 80s, but the shell sizes that you see in the 80s tend to be on the thicker side and are even thicker than the thickest ones in 1871. All right, I hope that was helpful, and good luck setting all this up. We'll see you in lab.